In the warm tropical waters of the Indo-Pacific, where coral gardens stretch towards the horizon and countless species fight for survival, one fish stands apart, with its copper-orange band stretching across a pearl-white body, moving through the reef with precision. That elongated snout, perfectly designed for probing the deepest crevices on the coral structure, tells the story of millions of years of evolution, perfecting a feeding strategy that few other fish can match. These remarkable fish don't simply inhabit the reef, they patrol it with a territorial authority that speaks to their confidence and adaptability. Unlike many butterfly fish species that remain strict coral-bound, Copperband displays a versatility that has allowed them to thrive in environments from pristine outer reef slopes to murky estuarine waters. Their distinctive false eye spot near the dorsal fin creates a visual deception that confuses predators, while their real eye remains hidden in a band of copper that flows seamlessly into their striking pattern. Watch as the Copperband methodically works a coral head, that specialized beak probing every crack and crevice with surgical precision. This isn't random foraging. This is an intelligent, calculated approach to feeding that has made them one of the reef's most effective invertebrate hunters. From pest anemones that plague coral colonies to hidden tube worms that most fish cannot reach, the Copperband's toolkit makes them nature's reef maintenance crew. Welcome to the 8th episode of the All About documentary series starring the Copperband Butterflyfish. The journey of the Copperband butterflyfish begins in 1758 with the work of Carl Linnaeus, the father of modern biological nomenclature. In his groundbreaking Systema Naturae, Linnaeus first described this species as Chaetodon rostratus, the beaked butterflyfish, recognizing the fish's most distinctive feature in its very name. The specific epithet, rostratus, derives from the Latin word rostrum, meaning beak or snout, perfect description of the elongated feeding apparatus that will become the fish's signature characteristic. What's fascinating about the early classification of this species is how it reflected the limited understanding of butterfly fish diversity in the 18th century. Linnaeus initially grouped it with other butterfly fish in the genus Chaetodon, but as marine biology evolved and our understanding of fish morphology became more sophisticated, it became clear that this fish and its close relatives possessed unique characteristics that warranted their own genus. The reclassification to Kelman occurred as ichthyologists recognized the distinct differences in jaw structure, feeding behavior, and overall body morphology that separated these long-snouted butterfly fish from their short-beaked cousins. Early European naturalists and explorers collected specimens from the Indo-Pacific were immediately struck by this fish's distinctive appearance and apparent intelligence. Colonial collectors noted that unlike many reef fish that seem to dash about randomly when disturbed, the Copperband displayed what they described as calculated behavior, carefully selecting escape routes and demonstrating an awareness of their surroundings that impressed early observers. The species gained popularity in European scientific circles not just for its beauty, but for its representation of the incredible diversity that tropical reefs contained, a diversity that was only beginning to be understood as global exploration expanded our knowledge of the marine ecosystems. The scientific classification of the Copperband butterflyfish reveals its position in the complex web of marine biodiversity, beginning with the domain Eukaryota, encompassing all organisms with a membrane-bound nuclei. We move through kingdom Animalia, for all multicellular organisms that obtain energy by consuming other organisms rather than producing their own food. The phylum Chordata includes all animals possessing a spinal cord or notochord at some point during development, while class Actinotergi represents the ray-finned fish, most diverse group of vertebrates on Earth, characterized by fins supported by bony rays rather than fleshy lobes. The order Chaetodontiformes groups together the butterflyfish and their close relatives, all sharing similar body plans and feeding strategies adapted for reef environments. Family Chaetodontidae encompasses all true butterflyfish, distinguished by their laterally compressed bodies, small mouths, and typically bright coloration patterns that serve various functions from species recognition to predator deterrence. Within this family, the genus Kelman stands apart from other butterflyfish genera. While most butterflyfish possess relatively short, rounded snouts suitable for picking at coral polyps and small organisms, Kelman species have evolved dramatically elongated rostra that allow them to probe deep into the crevices and reach prey items that other fish cannot access. The genus contains only 3 species: Kelman rostratus, which is our copperband; Kelman marginalis, the margin butterflyfish; and Kelman whalleri, which is the blackfin butterflyfish. All 3 share characteristic elongated snouts and similar body plans, but each has evolved specific adaptations to different ecological niches. Finally, we arrive at species rostratus, distinguished by its specific color pattern of copperbands on a white background, placement and size of its false eye spot, and subtle differences in dorsal fin ray counts that help ichthyologists distinguish between closely related species. This taxonomic position reflects millions of years of evolution, with the Kelman lineage representing a specialized branch of butterflyfish evolution that prioritized feeding precision over the more generalized feeding strategies of their relatives. The Copperband butterflyfish represents a masterpiece of evolutionary engineering, with every aspect of its biology perfectly tuned for life as reef-dwelling specialists, reaching a maximum length of 8 inches in the wild, though typically staying closer to 6 inches in most environments. These fish possess a body plan that immediately distinguishes them from all other reef inhabitants. The most striking feature is undoubtedly that elongated rostrum. It's a snout that can comprise up to 25% of the fish's total body length. This isn't simply a stretched out version of a normal fish's snout. It's highly specialized feeding apparatus with remarkable precision. The tip of the rostrum contains concentrated nerve endings that allow the fish to detect minute vibrations and chemical signatures from hidden prey. The mouth, positioned at the very end of this probe, can be protruded slightly to create suction that draws inverts from deep crevices, almost like a vacuum. Their body shape follows the classic butterflyfish profile, extremely laterally compressed, creating an almost disc-like appearance when viewed from the front. This compression serves multiple purposes. It allows them to slip sideways through narrow coral formations, reduces their profile to potential predators when viewed head-on, and creates a distinctive silhouette that is immediately recognizable to other copperbands. The coloration pattern is both beautiful and functional. The distinctive copper-orange bands that give the fish its common name are actually more complex than they first appear. These bands vary in intensity and width between individuals and can be influenced by the fish's emotional state, lighting conditions, and social circumstances. The white background color provides contrast that makes the bands appear even more vibrant, while also helping the fish blend in with the filtered sunlight that penetrates the reef's depths. Perhaps most ingenious is the false eye spot, located on the posterior portion of the dorsal fin. This large dark spot is often more prominent than the fish's actual eye, which is partially concealed within the copperband. This creates a classic case of misdirection. Predators attacking when they perceive to be the head will find themselves snapping at the tail end of the fish that's already swimming rapidly in the opposite direction. The dorsal and anal fins are equipped with strong spines that can be erected when the fish is threatened, making them appear larger and more formidable. The soft portions of these fins are elegantly shaped, contributing to the fish's graceful swimming style and precise maneuverability around complex coral formation. Internally, copperbands possess a sophisticated digestive system necessary to process a diet rich in small inverts. Their stomach is relatively small but highly efficient, and their intestinal tract is proportioned perfectly for extracting maximum nutrition from their protein-rich prey items. The Copperband butterflyfish inhabits one of the most biodiverse marine regions of our planet, with their range stretching across the tropical Indo-Pacific from the Red Sea, East African coast, all the way to the Great Barrier Reef, north to the islands of Japan. This vast distribution reflects not just the evolutionary success, but their remarkable adaptability to different reef environments and conditions. What sets copperbands apart from any other butterflyfish species is their tolerance for varied habitat types. While most butterflyfish require pristine coral reef conditions with excellent water quality and stable temperatures, copperbands have been documented thriving in environments that would stress or kill their more sensitive relatives. They're equally comfortable on the outer reef slopes where crystal clear water meets the open ocean, and in the turbid waters of the estuarine environments where rivers meet the sea. These fish are typically found at depths ranging from 1 to 25 meters, either alone or in pairs. In shallow reef areas, they patrol the coral gardens during daylight hours, methodically working their way through the coral formations and search of food. Their preferred habitat includes areas with abundant hard coral growth, particularly table corals and branching corals that provide the three-dimensional structure necessary to support the diverse invertebrate communities they feed upon. They are usually found on coral reefs, rocky shorelines, also in estuaries and silty inner reefs. This habitat flexibility is remarkable among butterfly fish and speaks to their evolutionary adaptability. In estuarian environments where freshwater mixing creates lower salinity conditions and increased turbidity, copperbands have learned to take advantage of the unique invert communities that thrive in these transitional zones. The water temperatures throughout their range typically fall between 75 to 84 degrees Fahrenheit, though they can tolerate short-term temperature fluctuations that occur naturally in their environment. Water clarity can vary significantly from the gin-clear conditions of the outer reef slopes to the greenish tinge of nutrient-rich estuarian waters. Their territorial nature means that each individual or pair typically claims a specific area of the reef that they know intimately. These territories are not randomly selected but carefully chosen to provide optimal feeding opportunities, adequate shelter from predators, and appropriate conditions for reproduction. Typical territory might span several core heads or a section of reef wall, and established fish will aggressively defend these areas from intruders. The reproduction behavior of copperband butterflyfish represents one of the most recently understood aspects of their biology, with breakthrough research finally revealing the secret of their spawning behavior after decades of mystery. These fish form monogamous pairs during breeding, establishing strong pair bonds that can last for years and represent one of the more stable partnerships found among reef fish. The process of pair formation is complex and not fully understood, but appears to involve both visual displays and behavioral compatibility testing. Male and females that are considering partnership will swim together for an extended period, apparently evaluating each other's suitability as long-term mate. This evaluation process can take weeks or even months, and not all attempted pairings result in a successful partnership. Recent captive breeding research has provided unprecedented insights into their spawning behavior. Spawning appears to occur at pre-dawn or first light, similar to millet seed butterflyfish, with eggs having a standard 18 to 24-hour embryo development period. This timing is crucial for reproductive success, as it takes advantage of reduced predation pressure and optimal tidal conditions for egg dispersal. Between August 2020 to April 2021, spawning by one broodstock pair was recorded 25 times, indicating that successful pairs can spawn multiple times throughout the breeding season. The spawning act itself is a synchronized descent into the water column, where both male and females simultaneously release their gametes in a cloud that quickly disperses with the current. The eggs are going to be pelagic, meaning they float freely in the water column during their development. This strategy ensures genetic mixing between different reef populations and allows the species to colonize new reef areas as ocean currents carry the developing larvae to suitable settlement sites. The larval development period is extended, lasting several weeks to months depending on environmental conditions. During this planktonic stage, the larvae undergo dramatic transformation, gradually developing the characteristic body shape and elongated rostrum that will define their adult lives. The settlement process is triggered by chemical and acoustic cues that indicate suitable reef habitat. Sexual dimorphism in adult fish is subtle, with males typically displaying slightly more intense coloration and potentially different vintage. Through definitive identification often requires close observation of breeding behaviors. Life as a copperband butterflyfish requires constant vigilance against a diverse array of predators that view them as an attractive meal. Their moderate size, conspicuous coloration, and reef-dwelling lifestyle make them targets for numerous species throughout their life cycle, requiring sophisticated defense strategies to survive to reproductive maturity. During their planktonic larval stage, copperband larvae face the gauntlet of open ocean predation. Virtually every organism in the planktonic food web poses a potential threat, from jellyfish, comb jellies, to other fish larvae, and various crustacean predators. The mortality rate during this vulnerable phase approaches 99%, which explains why successful spawning pairs must produce large numbers of offspring to ensure species survival. Once they settle onto reefs as juveniles, a new set of predators become relevant. Small to medium-sized reef predators, including hawkfish, dottybacks, small groupers, moray eels, all pose significant threats to young copperbands. These predators are specifically adapted for hunting in the complex coral reef environment and possess the speed and agility necessary to capture prey along the coral formation. As they grow into subadults and adults, copperbands become less vulnerable to small predators, but must contend with reef's apex species. Large reef sharks, particularly the gray reef sharks, white tips, and occasionally tigers, represent the most significant predation pressure for adult copperbands. These sharks patrol reef areas and possess both the size and hunting ability to capture even the most alert butterfly fish. Moray eels represent another major threat category. These snake-like predators use their slender bodies to hunt in the same crevices and coral formations where copperbands feed, creating unavoidable encounters. Large morays possess powerful jaws and lightning-fast strikes that can capture unwary fish before they can escape. Giant trevally, barracuda, and large groupers also pose threats, particularly to fish caught in open water areas away from the protective structure of the reef. These predators rely on speed and power to overwhelm their prey, making the open water crossing dangerous for copperbands. These fish have evolved several defense strategies to deal with these varied threats. Their compressed body shape allows rapid movement through the narrow coral passages where larger predators can't follow. The false eye spot creates momentary confusion during predator attacks, potentially providing it the split second necessary for escape. Their territorial behavior means they maintain intimate knowledge of their home reef area, including the location of every bolt hole and escape route. Perhaps most importantly, copperbands are exceptionally alert and possess excellent eyesight that allows them to detect approaching threats from considerable distances. Their habit of remaining close to coral shelter means they're rarely more than a few quick swimming strokes for safety. The feeding behavior of the copperband butterflyfish represents one of nature's most specialized and efficient hunting strategies, evolved over millions of years to exploit food sources that remain inaccessible to most other reef fish. Their elongated rostrum isn't just an unusual feature, it's a precision instrument that opens up an entire world of prey items that other fish simply cannot reach. This species will eat many inverts, including parasitic forms such as tube worms, Haliactis parasitica, and common glass anemones. However, this barely scratches the surface of their dietary complexity. In their natural habitat, copperbands are methodical hunters that spend a majority of their waking hours searching for and capturing small inverts hidden within the coral matrix. Their primary prey consists of various polychaete worms, those segmented worms that live in tubes within coral crevices and rocky substrates. Their elongated snout allow them to probe deep within these tubes and extract worms that have evolved specifically to avoid predation by hiding in inaccessible locations. The precision of their feeding is remarkable. They can detect the minute vibrations created by these worms and pinpoint their location with surgical accuracy. Small crustaceans form another major component of their diet. Amphipods, isopods, small crabs, and various microscopic crustaceans that live within the coral structures all become prey for the copperband's specialized feeding apparatus. Their ability to create precise suction at the tip of their rostrum allows them to extract these creatures from hiding places where other fish cannot reach. Butterflyfish preys on all tube and substrate worm, clams, and mollusks. Small bivalves and gastropods that attach themselves to or hide within coral formations also fall victim to the copperband's persistence. They will work a single coral head for extended periods, systematically checking every crevice and cavity for hidden prey items. One of their most famous dietary preferences is for pest anemones, particularly the Aptasia. Given a choice, Aptasia is actually the least favorite food, but their ability to consume these problematic anemones has made them popular in the aquarium trade as biological pest control. However, the focus on Aptasia control often overshadows their true dietary complexity and nutritional requirements. Their feeding technique is methodical and energy efficient. Rather than a frantic feeding behavior exhibited by many reef fish, copperbands move deliberately across coral surfaces, using their sensitive rostrum to probe each potential feeding site. This patient approach allows them to locate and capture prey that more aggressive feeders would miss entirely. The relationship between copperbands and their prey items also serves an important ecological function to the reef. By controlling populations of certain inverts, they help maintain the balance between different species and prevent any single group from overwhelming the available space and resources. The health challenges facing copperband butterflyfish in both wild and captive environments reflect their specialized nature and sensitivity to environmental changes. Unlike hardier reef fish that can tolerate a wide range of conditions, copperbands require stable, high-quality environments to maintain their health and resist disease pressure. In wild populations, external parasites represent the most common health challenge. Marine ick caused by the ciliate parasite, cryptocarine irritants, can affect copperbands particularly during times of environmental stress or when water quality declines due to pollution or coral bleaching events. The parasite appears as white spots scattered across the fish's body and fins. While copperbands possess some natural resistance, severe infections can be debilitating or fatal. Marine velvet caused by dinoflagate, Hemoludinium ocellatum, poses an even more serious threat. The parasite creates a golden or rust-colored coating across the fish's skin and gills, interfering with respiration and rapidly becoming life-threatening if environmental conditions favor its reproduction. Copperband's preference for varied habitat types include areas with fluctuating water quality, sometimes expose them to conditions that promote velvet outbreaks. Bacterial infections often occur as secondary problems when fish are stressed by poor water quality, inadequate nutrition, or parasite loads. These typically manifest as fin rots, skin lesions, or internal infections that affect organ function. Specialized diet of copperbands means that nutritional deficiencies can occur if their preferred prey items become scarce due to environmental changes. Fungal infections, while less common in marine environments, can affect fish that have suffered injuries or are immunocompromised due to other stressors. Complex coral reef environment provides numerous opportunities for injury from sharp coral formations or territorial disputes with other fish. In captive situations, the health challenges become even more pronounced due to the difficulty of replicating their natural diet and environmental conditions. Malnutrition remains a leading cause of health problems in aquarium-kept copperbands, as their specialized feeding requirements are difficult to meet with available commercial foods. Stress of captivity itself can compromise immune function, making captive specimens more susceptible to diseases that might be easily resisted in wild populations. This is why proper quarantine procedures, excellent water quality maintenance, and appropriate nutrition are absolutely critical for success with the species. Wild copperbands benefit from natural cleaning stations staffed by cleaner wrasse and cleaner shrimp, which provide ongoing health maintenance by removing parasites and dead tissue. The absence of these natural cleaning services in captivity can contribute to health problems over time. The conservation status of the copperband butterflyfish presents a complex picture that reflects both their current stability and the growing pressures facing coral reef ecosystems worldwide. Currently listed as least concern by the IUCN, this designation indicates that the species maintains stable populations across most of its range and faces no immediate threat of extinction. However, this relatively secure status masks several concerning trends that could impact long-term population stability. Climate change represents the most serious threat to copperband populations, primarily through its effects on the coral reef ecosystems. Rising ocean temperatures cause increasingly frequent and severe coral bleaching events, which destroys that complex three-dimensional reef structure that provides both habitat and food sources for these specialized fish. Ocean acidification poses an additional challenge by making it more difficult for corals and the small inverts that copperbands feed upon to build and maintain their calcium carbonate structures. As reef complexity decreases and invertebrate populations decline, these specialized feeding strategy that has made copperbands so successful becomes a liability. This species is among the most frequent caught butterfly fish for the aquarium market. Monitoring of the population trends, habitat status, and harvest levels of this species is definitely required. The substantial collection pressure for aquarium trade, while not currently threatening overall population stability, does create a localized impact in heavily collected areas. The breakthrough in captive breeding represents hope for reducing this collection pressure. In 2021, the copperband butterflyfish were successfully aquacultured by Dr. Courtney Hose, Katie McCord, Morgan Bronson, Aubrey Vinny, Peter Woodward, and John McCullis at the University of Florida Indian River Research and Education Center in collaboration with Rising Tide Conservation. This achievement followed previous work by Rizkel, who successfully paired and spawned captive copperband butterflyfish and achieved larval rearing to 10 days post-hatch in 2016. The University of Florida's team's success in taking larvae through to juvenile settlement represents a major advancement in marine aquaculture. The captive breeding process revealed the complexity of copperband reproduction and the precise environmental conditions required for successful spawning and larval development. Copperband eggs have a standard 18 to 24 embryo development, but the larval rearing phase requires specialized techniques and carefully controlled conditions. These captive breeding efforts not only provide hope for reducing collection pressures on wild populations, but also offers opportunities for research into the species' biology and behavior that would be impossible to conduct in the wild. As captive breeding techniques improve and production scales up, sustainably raised copperbands could eventually replace wild-caught specimens in the aquarium trade. Conservation efforts for wild populations focus on protecting coral reef habitats through marine protected areas, regulating collection activities, and addressing the broader challenges of climate change and pollution that threaten the reef ecosystems globally. The copperband butterflyfish represents one of the most challenging yet rewarding species in the marine aquarium hobby, requiring experienced aquarists who understand the complex needs of this specialized reef fish. Their care demands go far beyond your typical marine aquarium inhabitants, but successful keepers are rewarded with one of the most elegant and purposeful fish in the ocean. Price and availability. Current market prices for the copperband butterflyfish typically range from $45 to $80 for wild-caught specimens, with size and quality affecting that price. The recent availability of the captive bred specimens usually runs $150 to $300, reflecting the complex breeding process and their superior adaptation to aquarium life. Wild-caught specimens are readily available through most marine livestock dealers, while captive-bred fish remain limited in availability as production continues to try to scale up to their demand. Tank size. Minimum tank size at 75 gallons is essential for the adult copperbands, though if you get up into 100, 120 gallons, definitely preferred for longer term success. Key isn't just volume, these fish require swimming space and territory, so a tank that's at least 4 feet long, sometimes those 6-foot tanks work even better to accommodate a very active swimming fish and allow them to establish plenty of natural territories in the tank. Care level, copperbands are definitely an intermediate to advanced care category. While not impossible for dedicated beginners, they do require stable water conditions, excellent filtration, and most critically, success in meeting their specialized dietary requirements. This isn't a fish for new marine aquarists or those looking for an easy addition to their tank. Temperament, this species is territorial but generally peaceful toward non-competing species. They can be mildly aggressive towards other butterfly fish, particularly those with similar body shapes and feeding habits. Within established pairs, they show remarkable cooperation, but introducing new copperbands to a tank with established residents often results in territorial disputes. Reef compatibility, this species can be considered reef safe, though with important caveats. While they won't typically damage corals directly, their specialized diet means they will consume small inverts that reef aquarists often want to maintain. They're excellent for controlling pest anemones like Aiptasia, but will also consume beneficial worms, small crustaceans, and other inverts. Water parameters, temperatures should be in that tropical range, 75 to 84 degrees, very warm water for them, match that natural reef environment. pH should remain stable between 8.1 to 8.4, and your DKH 8 to 12. Salinity, I would say 1.023 to 1.025. These fish are sensitive to parameter fluctuations, not just with those, but also with your ammonia, your nitrates, your phosphates. So make sure that stability is there before you add them to your tank. Maximum size and that coloration, Copperband butterflyfish can grow up to 8 inches, but in a home aquarium, we usually see about 4 to 6 inches. Their distinctive coloration features are bright copper orange bands on that pearl white background with that prominent false eye spot near the dorsal fin. Just very beautiful fish, gonna catch everyone's eye. They're a lot of fun to watch in the tank. Their diet in captivity, this is the greatest challenge of the copperband. Malnutrition always happens, and it's one of the biggest reasons they do perish in the tank. So, given a choice, Aiptasia is the least favorite food despite their reputation as Aiptasia controllers. It's good to have them in there, they will go after them, but I wouldn't try to have Aiptasia be the only thing in their diet. They require a varied diet, including small frozen foods like mysa shrimp, brine shrimp. Specialized invert preparations would also be really good for them. Many aquarists supplement with live or frozen tubifex worms, small pieces of clam or mussel, and specialized butterfly fish preparations. There's a lot of brands out there that make stuff specific for a butterfly fish. Definitely have those on hand if you're thinking about adding that copperband to your tank. Frequent small feedings throughout the day work better than large infrequent meals. That always keeps most of your fish more happy and healthy and more active, is if you can feed them multiple times a day in smaller portions. Origin and collection, so wild specimens originate throughout the Indo-Pacific region. Major collection areas include in the Philippines, Indonesia, and Australia. Collection methods and holding conditions significantly affect their health and adaptability of imported specimens. So whenever you get them in, whether you're getting them from a live fish store, you're getting them from online, make sure you take your time with the acclimation. Don't go too fast. Get your drip tube, acclimate them slow. And if you're buying them from a live fish store, ask them what they're feeding them. Try to match the same things that they're using to get them to eat. That way when they're going into your tank, they'll be eating the same things and they'll get used to it quicker. Compatibility, copperbands do well with other peaceful fish, definitely other peaceful reef fish that won't go after that same food source. Suitable tank mates include cardinal fish, wrasse, tangs, angelfish, gobies, clownfish, just any of those more peaceful to semi-aggressive reef fish will do really well together. Avoid housing them with aggressive species or other butterfly fish unless the tank is very large. I would definitely try to pick one butterfly and let that be the one in the tank. Shouldn't be kept with fish that are aggressive feeders, as they might get outcompeted for food. And of course, don't put them in there with a predator tank. Don't put them in there with puffers, triggers, eels. Those guys are just going to be too much for them. They're going to be hiding all the time, and they're not going to come out to eat for you. Peaceful tanks, reef tanks, that's your best bet. Key to success with a copperband butterflyfish lies in providing them with a mature, stable system that closely mimics their natural reef environment, meeting their complex dietary requirements and maintaining the patience needed to work with their specialized species. It rewards proper care with years of graceful beauty in the tank. The copperband butterflyfish stands as a testament to nature's ability to create specialists, fish so perfectly adapted to their ecological niche that they serve both hunters and reef maintenance crews. From their precision-engineered rostrum to their strategic fall-size spot, every aspect of their biology tells the story of evolutionary refinement over millions of years. As we continue to face the challenges of climate change and coral reef degradation, species like the copperband remind us why protecting these underwater ecosystems is so critical. They represent not just individual beauty, but the intricate connection that makes coral reefs the most biodiverse marine habitats on our planet. Whether you encounter one while diving on a pristine Indo-Pacific reef or observe a captive-bred specimen in a carefully maintained aquarium, the copperband butterflyfish represents the remarkable precision with which life adapts to opportunity. In their methodical hunting, their monogamous pair bonds, and their territorial authority over the reef domain, they embody the complex relationships that make coral reefs so extraordinary. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of the reef's most specialized residents, the copperband butterflyfish, a fish that proves that in nature, form truly follows function, and beauty emerges from purpose.